Welcome back, friends. You're just in time for the Johnny Brew Show.
What's going on, everybody? My name is John Brookhagen, host of the Johnny Brew Show, and welcome to Red Wave 22, where we have yet another awesome candidate that wants to get to know you, and we're going to let you get to know them today. Don't forget, last night we premiered an incredible interview with Sherelle Mendenhall, who's running for Senate in the United States, and it was quite intriguing. It ran a little long because she's so flippin' interesting, but today, and for the next months, I'm booked up. We are going to be talking to local, statewide, and federal candidates. So I need you to subscribe. Hit the little bell. I don't care if you're on Rumble or on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, yada, yada, yada. Hit that subscription button. That's all we're asking of you. No donations, no sponsors. Just me, you, a candidate. Hit us up, thejohnnybrewshow@gmail.com, or throw us a text at 702-501-5304. So, without further ado, we have a candidate who's got a really big primary coming up. His name is Alan Bigelow. He's running for City Council Ward 2. And if that rings a bell, it should, because we actually do have an incumbent Republican running in it as well, Miss Victoria Seaman. So we're going to get into all that, but without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Alan Bigelow. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Johnny. It's great to be here. Las Vegas has been my home forever. I grew up here in 1963. My family moved here. My dad was working for a company called EG&G at the time. EG&G was responsible, and I take credit for him in this because what they did was test the circuit boards in the lunar landers. And if everybody remembers, the Apollo 13, they'd have never survived without that lunar lander. So my dad's company was the ones that made sure that the electronics worked in that lander so those guys could come home safe.
And that was here in Nevada?
That was here in Nevada. Their company was on the south side of the McCarran Runway at the time over on Sunset Road.
Oh, right where all those, there's a batting cage there now, and MGM and Cirque du Soleil roll along there.
Yeah, all those crazy places over there that, and back then, of course, the runway wasn't quite as long, and you could actually drive up to the airport and walk out. And we used to go meet my grandmother in the summertime. We'd
running out to the
runway and standing at the bottom of the ladder. And hi, Grandma.
And Sunset Boulevard. That was
it was
probably
great.
Like out in the sticks.
It was.
Right now, it's right in the middle of everything.
Yeah, so many places we're in now.
Down there.
Down this way somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. And it was great back then because Vegas was about 70,000 people, and now we're over 2.3 million, 2.4 somewhere in there right now.
So you've seen it all.
Seen a lot of changes.
And were you a military brat? Is that right?
Well, my dad had just gotten out of the Air Force. He was and he worked on missiles, and so he went from Boise, Idaho, Mountain Home Air Base, down to Vegas, and in the process of my mother, he went ahead. My mother came afterwards. On the way down, my grandmother stopped at the World's Fair in Seattle, then came down, Pacific Coast Highway and back into Vegas.
Wow, and you're Irish and Swedish?
Irish and Swedish, yeah. My grandmother on my mom's side spoke fluent Swedish until her 80s, and would get letters from her cousins.
I'm thinking of a Muppet. I don't know. I don't even know if
chef.
we're allowed to joke around
the
about
chef.
accents anymore.
Yeah. And my dad's mom was Irish, and a short little Irish Catholic woman, and we'd go back to
and there's
Michigan.
lots of stereoth
Oh my gosh!
We could say about the Irish.
for sure. So being in that family,
you're not even mad you're turning red already.
Because it just tickles me to think about some of the things. My Irish grandmother taught me to bake and cook. And as a result, my children ate some really good desserts and some great meals.
Stop getting so mad.
Yeah, right?
Why do you look so mad?
I'm turning red.
Look at that, the Johnny Brew Show playing with the studio.
Turning red. Wait, no, that's right, because Nevada's turning red.
That's right, Red Wave 22.
Red Wave 22, there you go.
Go back to red?
Yeah, let's do red.
All right, let's go red.
We're red. Red for Nevada.
Is that too red?
So,
I gotta ask the producer how it looks on screen. A little much? All right. We'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
All right. So, you grew up in Vegas. Did you go to high school and
I went to 2 high schools here because once my folks got divorced, of course, we weren't rich. And we lived on the east side of Vegas in a trailer park. The trailer park's obviously not there anymore. It's been bulldozed and taken apart. And if those that know Vegas real well know the 5 Points area, my mother lived in the trailer park and we lived with her. My dad lived in 5 Points. And so we had to work our way back up. In the process,
so you guys got split up.
They split up.
And your mom took you into a trailer park,
which, you know, that was our neighborhood.
Right.
You know, we knew the kids in the neighborhood. So I went to one of the schools was Ira J. Earl, which is over on the east side of Las Vegas. We grew up, went to El Dorado High School for a year. My dad eventually worked through his college and got some things done while he was managing an apartment complex. We ended up getting a house in the south end of town at Warm Springs in Spencer.
Right.
Or rather, Warm Springs in eastern area. So it's right there, the same neighborhood.
Right. Just off the strip.
Just a little bit south.
The sticks back
it
then.
was. It really was. There was nothing out there. So you know, after school, my dog and I'd go for a walk out in the desert. We'd come back after homework was done. You know,
my gosh! No 95.
No 95. There wasn't a St. Rose Parkway back then. It was the Henderson Cutoff. The sticks were truly the sticks. I mean, you know.
Now, right now, that's the middle of town.
Yeah,
I mean, that's right by Chaparral, if I'm not mistaken.
It's actually just past where the cemetery is out there.
Gotcha.
Just right past there.
And isn't that also Las Vegas National and stuff like that? I don't know.
You know, I don't live in that part of town anymore. I live more like So I have to.
About 1970.
Yeah.
But 2020.
I got to go back in the neighborhood and look around sometimes, just to kind of see what's there.
Well, you're not running over there.
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm not.
running where you live now. Where do you live now?
Over off of Charleston and Durango, which is Ward 2, and Ward 2 is kind of like Summerlin South, Red Rock, the Lakes, Pecoli Ranch. Other people might know it from the old days as Angel Park.
Right, and they got the golf course. They got the
golf
Badlands,
course,
which we're going to be talking
the
about.
Badlands, yeah, holy cow.
All right, so then what high schools did you go to?
So I went to El Dorado for the first year and then graduated from Valley in 1980. And I still talk to a lot of the kids from there.
Wow.
You know, Vegas.
I go to Western, so that was there, but that was your rival.
Vegas, you know, we had 6 high schools back then. Western was one of our rivals.
I know Western was the third high school ever opened, or the second, either the second or third.
And so
Las
Western
Vegas
was
high school was the first.
Las Vegas, and I love the architecture of that school. It's an amazing building.
It doesn't look like every prison CCSD has built since.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
And then what did you do after high school?
So after high school, high school was kind of funny because ultimately, to get out of high school, I had to take 5 English classes because English wasn't my subject. So not
you were
having,
a math guy?
I was more of a math guy and a theater guy, you know, and the band guy. So
what did you play?
I played the tuba and the trombone.
Really? I played the trumpet and then the treble clef baritone because I didn't go to bass clef, but I played the baritone and the trumpet. I loved it. You know, even when I was at my least attentive, you know, I would love band class. I always loved math. Mm-hmm. I always loved lunch because I went and hung out with my friends.
Yeah.
Gym, I loved to play basketball. But band class was always my favorite class.
Exactly. In Valley High School, they had a group called Sound Unlimited, and I worked with that group. Robert Orgel was the instructor there. We miss him. He passed away a couple years ago, and there's a whole crowd of those kids that are still here. And at El Dorado, I was in the band, and I played the tuba at El Dorado. They, of course, are famous for their big E on the football field. So,
right.
You know. But, yeah, high school was just not my thing. And so I didn't grab the grades that I could have. So I had to do something, and I didn't know what it was. So I joined the Army. You know, it gave me a chance to.
When is this?
This was I signed up when I was 17. So I took that oath that, you know, that hey, you know, I'll protect you against all foreign enemies and domestic.
70s.
It was 1979. 1979. And I ended up completing 24 years of service to the country between the Army and the National Guard. And, of course, as most veterans know, you know, that oath never expires.
Right.
So I got to travel with it. I went to Germany with it. I've been to, and I'm sure I'm going to forget one of the bases, but I went to Fort Knox, Fort Dix, Fort Jackson, Fort Hood.
I think everybody's been to Fort Hood.
Everybody's been, if you've been in the Army, you've been to Fort Hood. Fort Irwin,
Right, and where were you in Germany?
I was in Elvis Presley's old unit in Germany, in a place called Friedberg, and it's 1st of the 32nd Armored Division, or 1st 32nd Armored Battalion, 3rd Armored Division. And it was a lot of history there about Elvis. Of course, Elvis being a Vegas guy,
right?
You know, it
sure
fit.
He's
it was
had
like
bigger contributions to pop culture than he did to the Army.
Well, but you know,
he
it was pretty good. It was great.
He represented.
He did. He sure did. You know, and there's pictures of him all over the base.
Is there?
Yeah. It
was like going to the Hilton, or what is it called now?
The Westgate.
LVH, the Westgate.
Used to be, because it started out as the International, then became the Hilton, and now it's the Westgate. Yep.
And then you were in both the Army and the National Guard, and you actually saw 5 conflicts. Obviously, from 1979 through, I'm guessing, like 2002, we had everything from the Cold War,
sure did.
The Cold War ending, the topple of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we had the Iraq and Kuwait and the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, 9/11, right before you retired. Take me through what you've seen and how that affected you personally.
Gosh, you know, that was... The people from those countries were amazing. And I don't say that as the combatants, but because every time we'd go to a conflict, and especially while I was in Germany for the 18 months there, we had Iran and Iraq. And we'd take our weekend passes and we'd go to the other towns and we'd see people and visit and get to see the country. What would happen was it never failed. I mean, never failed. We'd sit down on the train, and the guy across from me would be from that country that we were having a conflict with. Well, we'd talk to him because, hey, we're told this is the bad guy, you know, and so of course, we're pumped up. We're like, hey, we got, the enemy. The enemy's right here in front of me. What am I going to do? Turns out these are real people. These are people that are trying to make a good life for their family. They've left that country to get to America, but they ended up stopping in Germany because that's as far as they could afford to go. So they started working. They started producing good money so that they could bring their families and then go to America and do the real American dream and have that apple pie and, the American flag and everything else. But these were the people that were trying to get away from those conflicts. These were the people that didn't want to be there and didn't support those conflicts in any way, shape, or form. And it was very, very enlightening to run across these people.
Right. I mean, even right now, if we were to go to war with Russia, it doesn't mean you hate Russia.
No.
Our government is sending troops there.
Exactly.
But it's eye-opening, especially as a youth.
Yeah. You're 19, 20 years old, and you've been told these guys are the bad guys your entire life, and all of a sudden he's sitting in front of you, and you're going, okay, what do I do here?
Right, well, the Iranians, right? Iranians are evil.
Yeah.
But I know a girl that I went to UNLV with, and she escaped Iran because she had some sort of a thing. She might have been a Christian or something, but she escaped Iran as a refugee. And I was talking to her, trying to educate myself, because I'd rather learn from her than from the mainstream media. If I only knew then what I know now, I definitely wouldn't have learned from the mainstream media. But she says, she described the youth. And they're all just kids. They want to listen to some music. They have secret parties in basements because they'll
get in trouble,
beheaded or something, And she says, hardly anybody in Iran hates America,
right?
And it's not a reflection on the people of Iran. It's a reflection on the people in charge.
Exactly. And that was the thing. That was the aha moment, I guess, to put it. It's not the people. The people were truly fleeing that oppressive system.
Right.
They're constantly trying to get out of it, constantly trying to do better, but they're not allowed.
Right.
And so they go, to other places where they can do better. They can become more. They can have that dream of real entrepreneurship and develop their potential. Walt Disney's a great one for saying, hey, if you can dream it, you can do it. And that's what these people absolutely believe, but they're stuck where they are.
Right, and they want just like we want freedom, then we feel like we're being oppressed by our present-day government.
Right.
These are people that are just living their life trying to escape any sort of oppression and attain freedom. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's really the same thing across the world. We all just want to be left alone to love our families and worship our God. And, I hear some stories about, when they announced the end of World War I, they celebrated. And now these factions were fighting less than a mile away from each other, and then they announced the end of the war, and they like had a party, and they'd
Yeah.
like, play a soccer game together, and they'd be helping each other up and playing soccer, and you have any moments like that?
The Berlin Wall.
Where were you?
I was still in the Army when the Berlin Wall came down. We knew because of we knew what was behind the wall. We knew that the communists were there. We knew what was going on.
The enemy.
The enemy, right? The enemy. But what happened was, and I just didn't pay attention to the news at the time. And all of a sudden, I'm watching the news, and I'm like, what is? They're tearing down the wall. What's going on?
Right.
I mean, it's very emotional to see the barrier from a very, very powerful enemy removed, so that all of a sudden now they can just walk across.
Right.
And you're going,
Bad people.
Yeah,
right?
all these bad people are going to come invade our country. What are we doing? Of course, then on the train again, I meet somebody from East Berlin.
Right.
And there was normal people just like you and I mean, just normal folks that were being, again, oppressed by a government, which is horrible. It's just absolutely the worst.
Right. And so the people
are great.
More happy than anybody else. And you're thinking only from your own viewpoint of, all right, we're the freedom-loving people, and we got a bunch of communists over there. You tear down the wall, and people are like, oh, thank you so much. North and South Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think every North Korean is the enemy, or do you think a bunch of North Koreans are saying, please,
I would totally agree. I mean, if you look at the satellite pictures of how the countries are lit up at night, you can see the definite line from South Korea to North Korea. That's a technological issue. That's a human needs issue.
And I don't even think it's technology. I think it's oppression. I think Kim Jong-un turns off the lights at 3 a.m.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's time for you to go to bed.
Go to bed. Go to bed, because you know what? I'm going to send somebody to arrest you. I just, I can't imagine living in that society.
And then you became a firefighter.
No, I became a cop first.
What haven't you done? Jeez, all right. So
that's actually a short list.
We got some pictures. But
that's a short list.
About the cop and the
okay,
firefighter.
I stayed in North Carolina after I got out of active duty the second time. And I met a gal there when I was stationed at Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg, of course, is, the airborne everything. We were an air assault unit. And so she and I got married. I stayed there for a little while and ended up needing to get a job, And so I drove a truck for a little while. All the Clydesdale fans will know the brand. We hit some of the local hot spots, but it just wasn't where I was feeling right. So I explored it a little bit. I went to the police basic training course, and I became a deputy sheriff for 2 years as a volunteer and 2 years as paid.
Wow. And you're older now.
Yeah, I'm older. I'm probably about 30 years-ish.
Right.
And the time gets a little hazy back then. Right. But so I was in my 30s, and she and I had found a home and started our family. My first daughter was born while I was in the academy, and become a deputy sheriff. And I ended up becoming a canine officer. And
so you had a dog.
I had a dog in the car all the time because it's a rural county, very rural.
And why did you need a dog? Was it for drugs or bombs? Or
she was the dog was trained for drugs and patrol work. So she would track, she would chase the bad guys, that kind of thing, and she'd do drug work. And she had a 97% conviction rate in the Superior Court there. A great dog. She was rescued from the local dog pound.
You got a dog out of the dog pound, and you were able to put it through training?
Yep. There was a training facility there.
Do you nominate the dog, or how does that work?
Well, the dogs have a specific personality, and they have to be able to respond to certain things. So I ended up finding this dog, and
you were looking for that.
And I was looking for it, and the people that turned the dog in said, she's too playful. I was like, she's too playful. She's a 6-month-old puppy.
Right.
So you got a puppy that's ready to go.
Right.
So we tested her, and my sergeant and I tested her because he was a canine officer. So we tested her. She passed every test perfectly. So I took her to school. I paid for the school. I took her to school.
You did it yourself?
I did it myself because I wanted to keep the dog because a lot of departments, the dog belongs to their department.
So you could have gave it over and maybe used it, maybe not.
Right.
But if you do it yourself,
but if I do it myself, it's my dog. you know, and like all the other dogs, most of the dogs, I'm not going to say most of the other patrol dogs go home with their handlers at the end of the night. Mine did too. We would go, and my kids would play with her at the end of the night. And at the time, my daughter was 3, and I'd had a brand new baby, brand new son who.
This is a big, tough German Shepherd.
A German Shepherd,
I think we got a picture coming up soon of it.
She's a great dog. She had fun. They did silly things. And for her, training was playtime. So we'd spend, a 8 to 10 to 12-hour shift, on the street, and then we'd come home and we'd trade for another 2 hours at night because you had to keep the dog in training.
Sure.
So every night we'd train, and then on Saturdays I'd go train with my sergeant over at his house, and so we'd train with each other's dogs so that, if something happened,
right,
we had a backup.
It doesn't only work with you.
Right. And so that officer had a backup in case something happened so that we could keep, the dogs under control because there's a huge liability with a canine.
Right. If you're the only one that can control it and God forbid you get shot or something,
exactly.
What's gonna happen with the dog?
Yeah, and so, but we trained them to be social creatures too. So, and we had a snow one year. And in North Carolina it doesn't snow a lot, but it did this time. So my kids were in the house, I was in the house, my dog's in the house, we're all just kind of getting a little bit of cabin fever, and I'm like, what can we do? So I hooked up one of the tracking harnesses to her, put a couple leashes on it, and tied it to the laundry basket, put the kids in their little snow outfits, and we went for a sleigh ride around the neighborhood, and everybody was happy. Everybody had a great time. They all came back and went back to sleep. Didn't have to worry about them for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that'll...
So, a little thinking outside of the box there.
All right, well, let's take a look at some of the pictures. Guys, I tell the candidates all the time, send me some pictures of you growing up and stuff. Alan hit it out of the park, so take some notes.
So here you go. This is just before we moved to Las Vegas. I have the same haircut, but I have a little more facial hair today. And I had to throw a shout out to the truckers here. I did drive long haul for a little bit, and that's a picture of my semi.
What haven't you done?
I haven't been a plumber yet.
Okay, that's on the list.
That's on the list.
That's
on the list. So the other picture there is basic training in Fort Dix, New Jersey. 1980. I just turned 18, and I was 18 by about 3 weeks in that picture. That's one of the patrol picture when I was.
You?
That's me.
Would you go bald at 16 years old?
Yeah, that's mid 30s. But every cop has that mustache.
Right,
you ever notice this? Every cop's had the mustache, right?
Stan Height said he had the same
Yeah,
mustache.
exactly. It's the same size. So that's the follow-up picture for that basic training picture.
Did you graduate the academy? What did you say about?
For the sheriff's department, there's actually, it's called a Basic Law Enforcement Training Program, and you have to take it, and it's 9 months long.
And you were with Stan?
No.
I thought
This
you
is
said same class or something.
Same kind of thoughts, but
gotcha.
Yeah. So the other picture right there is the start of that mustache. That was again in 19.
Didn't come in quite as thick yet.
Didn't quite. Yeah, I was 18.
Still waiting.
And there's my partner. That dog cost me $1 at the dog pound to rescue her.
Yeah, but what about the training?
The training was a little more extensive. It was a couple $1,000s back then. So,
wow, really?
It was.
That's a lot of money.
And especially when we were making about $1,200 a month as a deputy sheriff back then.
Wow, that was quite the investment.
So yeah.
And that's your big rig?
And that was my big rig. That was back in 95 or 96. Again, the years are a little off.
Yeah, and we're going to have an update on the truckers in Canada, as a matter of fact.
When I left the Army, that's the ribbon stack that I wore as I retired.
Gotcha.
And of course, there's the campaign picture right there that's going out and is popular on the web.
Very popular.
So, but yeah.
You can't get enough of it.
It's always the flag. It's always the United States. We've always been here to defend and protect. And even now as a firefighter, you had a little bit of a, get a little fuzz on the face there, and we're good to go.
It's the same,
right? Same haircut.
A little less neck and a little more hair.
There you go.
On the mouth, not on the top of that. Same amount of hair on top.
Right. But yeah, and so now I'm a fireman, and I've been in that job for about 18 years. I started out as EMT and 20 years ago, and of course the two of them go together. You got to get one to be the other. And I'm kind of closing that out a little bit. So I started seeing some problems in Las Vegas again. Problems with accountability, problems with making promises you can't keep.
Right.
You know, you mentioned the Badlands Golf Course a few minutes ago. That's a pretty big problem.
All right. Well, I mean, one of the questions is, because we are always looking for somebody to run down ticket. We need to fill all these seats.
Mhm.
We need to, even in an unwinnable district, we need to get some data. So we really need people to run in each and every district. Now, you happen to own a home.
Right.
So as opposed to renting, where you might be able to pick a district to run in and move there.
Yep. I'm planted.
You're planted, right?
Yeah, I'm planted.
But at the same time, just like so many of us, me starting the podcast, you decided I need to do something about the government.
Mm-hmm.
So you decided to run for city council, but that's one of the few seats that we actually have as Republicans. And just to give a little bit of a foreshadowing as to what your answer might be, this is you speaking to the city council. How long ago was this?
It was about a week and a half ago.
Oh, only a week and a half ago. This is you speaking at the city council. Play tape.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. My name is Alan Bigelow, candidate for City Council Ward 2. This morning I wanted to thank you for letting me announce my kickoff event last month. It was a tremendous success. In the past, I've been a lot of different things, been from a children's choir director to a soldier to a policeman to a fireman now. To hear the words that the people say were very humbling and very emotional to me, because I've never sought glory for any of it. The second thing I wanted to thank you, Councilman Creer, for acknowledging the 20 individuals that were awarded the African American Trailblazer Service Award. And I wish that there were more people on that list. Also, I need to dispel a rumor that there's a current career politician spreading, and that the rumor is very simple. It's that Councilwoman Fiore and Major Sam Peters has encouraged me to run for office, and it's absolutely not true. I stepped up in October, and I had never met Councilman Fiore before December, and I've been talking about it for about 3 years. That person has gone on to be a bully and to intimidate other candidates that are running, and unfortunately that person is on this council, and it's Councilwoman Victoria Seaman. I wish she'd quit. Just stop being a bully. Also, on a good note, I wish everybody has a happy Valentine's Day. You guys have been working really hard for the past 2 years during this pandemic, and I certainly appreciate it. My name is Alan Bigelow, and I'm running for the City Council in Ward 2. Thank you for letting me speak.
So basically, you went down to City Council and you called out Victoria Seaman in person and in front of her colleagues. Why are you running against someone who is one of the few Republican seats we currently hold?
You know, initially I was just going to wait and run in a couple years, but I started seeing some of the real problems that are popping up. One of the things that she promised was, and this is a direct quote, she said, "Because of my legislative experience, because of my leadership ability, I'm going to be able to fix the Badlands Golf Course." Well, we got a lawsuit out of that instead. Now, there's 4 lawsuits going. We've lost one for $34 million, and it cost us around between $7 and $10 million on external lawyers, not city attorneys, external lawyers, in addition to that.
So they didn't use the existing counsel that they have access to.
No.
They hired an outside firm.
An outside firm.
Spent dozens of millions of dollars
Yes.
in order to lose a $34 million lawsuit
Right.
that we're going to be on the hook for
You
as
bet.
taxpayers.
So you got your checkbook handy? We'll write them a check. I mean, it's for real. And then the second case is now in review, and the third and fourth case are coming up. Since then, Victoria has voted twice to continue this case. That's out of control.
Right, and I mean, I could understand that the constituents do not want building there. The businessmen obviously want to build there, and there's a lot of potential profit there.
Right.
So, what would you do if you were able to replace Victoria?
Well, the thing is, we have to go with what the Nevada Constitution says and what the current laws say. And both of those allow him to build there. We can't strip people of their rights just because somebody doesn't like it.
Well, that might not, but your constituents and the voters might not like that answer.
Well, it's a tough answer, but you know what? When you're in a council, you got to make those tough calls. You know?
I mean, it would be better than losing the case.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
going through
if they
4
want to
lawsuits.
dish out $34 million, I mean, there's a potential for $500 million loss there. The Las Vegas city budget's about $648 million.
About almost a
year's worth of
income.
budget. What are we going to do? Who are we going to cut? We can't cut the police. We can't cut the the fire department. We can't cut the outreach programs we got. There's no money for it. And this is the broken promise that Victoria made. This is the lack of direction that she's put in there, and it's unfortunate, you know.
So you're hoping that voters see the more pragmatic side of this.
Yeah, you got to be a grown-up in these kind of decisions. You got to sit there and say, you know what, we lost. Okay, maybe he'll settle. Maybe he'll work with us. Let's work it out. Don't sit there and continue a fight that's absolutely hopeless.
Well, and you say you saw this as an issue that you needed to address. I've heard from some people that Michelle Fiore reached out, because I don't know if you guys know, but Michelle Fiore and Victoria Seaman have been having a little thing going on. So I heard that Michelle Fiore approached you in order to take out Victoria Seaman.
Yeah, no, and that's so not true. It's actually a huge lie, and it's been told by Victoria herself. I have considered running, as in the videotape, you know, showed it, for about 3 years. I've been helping with Major Sam Peters' campaign, and when I signed on with him, I had told him initially, I said, you know, I've really kind of considered getting back into the ring a little bit, but I'm going to help you with your campaign, and my detaching myself from his campaign has actually not helped him at all. So I've taken my own campaign. I'm working with it. I've developed everything in it. I've got some great people that are helping me. Michelle Fiore is not one of them.
Well, do you want her help?
Oh, I'd love to have her help. I mean, when you have, you know, some people that are out here helping, you know, it takes time. It takes, you know.
But there's no truth to the
No.
fact that she approached you.
No,
or
that
this is
that
a team
absolutely
effort
no.
to settle their beef or
No,
whatnot.
not true, not in any way, shape, or form. In fact, when I announced my candidacy, it was in October of last year. I took a candidate's course, to, you know, learn what you need to do and who you need to talk to, basically. And that was December, I believe it was December 15th.
Right.
And that was the first time I'd even seen her, was that day. And she spoke at that conference. We took a picture because everybody takes pictures.
Well, you got to be careful these days who you take a picture
Yeah, right.
with.
But so we took a picture, and that was the first time I'd ever met her.
And you had already declared.
And I'd already declared. I declared on Steve Sanson's show in October.
Very good.
So, no, she's, you know, I wish Michelle good luck in her run for a governor. I wish all the candidates good luck in everything that they're doing, because it takes a lot to put your head literally in the noose when you run for office.
Besides the Badlands situation, what else? I mean, I'm sure there has to be more to it than that to motivate you to primary an incumbent. What else is it about Michelle Fiore? What else is it about Victoria Seaman that bothers you?
Well, you know, there's
a bully.
There's a bully. She's been going after candidates. I had a kickoff, and she's contacted several of the candidates that spoke there, because when I have something, I have an event. If there's a candidate there, I want everybody to have a minute to speak. It's fair.
Right. I mean, just like I was at an event the other day. There's 3 or 4 different gubernatorial candidates going together to get to know the people. They're not shutting each other or whatever.
No,
you know.
this is not roller derby where you're out there smacking each other around. It's an information. So you get a chance. If somebody's there that's a candidate, I'd let Victoria speak at my events if she came.
Right.
Because it's
I'd
a courtesy.
love to have you both on here.
You know, I'll do it. I'd love to do that. You know.
Victoria, you are more than welcome.
But the thing is, the more that I talk to people, the more that I get out in the community, the more doors I knock on. They're like, Victoria, who? Oh, you mean the one that didn't call me back? Oh, you mean the one that's always just taking a picture so she can get her face on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is? And I'm like, well, yeah, she's not doing something. She's not helping you guys? And I consistently get told no.
Right.
You know, since I've started, and I'm not even in office, but since I've started, one of the things I want to make sure kids are taken care of, all right? So I was made aware of some kids that are aging out of the foster care program. I approached a friend of mine and said, hey, this is what's going on. Can we do something about this?
Right, I have an 18-year-old son.
Yeah.
If he was in foster care, heaven
So-
forbid, he wouldn't be ready for the real world.
Right. So these kids that are in foster care, I connected them up with a school program. They're going to get a college education. They're going to have money available for their housing. They're going to have food available. They're going to have gas money. All they got to go do is see this person. And the 2 programs have connected. I took everybody to lunch. We sat down, had a great meeting. They're all connected up now.
And it's not a big bureaucratic mess.
No,
Like going to DMV.
it's
Go talk to
5 people
someone.
sitting down and saying, "Here you go,
We can help you.
we can help you." And it's just a matter of getting out and doing those kind of things, because that's the job of the city council, is to bring people together, bring unemployed folks to job training so that they can get job training, which I've opened the door for that as well. There's a group of guys with the labor union. I connected the person with the job training for a company that's coming to town. They have about 500 jobs as soon as they open the door. They got about 130 or so people that are unemployed. I was like, listen, guys, I'm a union fireman, and it's not always popular to be union, but you know what? These guys are out of work people. They're people.
Well, unions as a whole, I do believe, it's just like welfare.
Yeah.
It's a good intention. We want workers to have rights and get paid
Right,
the right
right,
thing.
right.
But these things morph into catastrophic things that we
bureaucratic. But the entire point in there is these are guys that are out of work and they need a job, and they need a job that's going to take care of their families because they've been getting a good wage for it now, and now all of a sudden they've got nothing. So I brought these guys together. So now they have all they got to do is go do it. It's up to them. I can't force them to do the paperwork. Right. But I can open the doors, and I'm just connecting people, and that's the idea of what, really city council is supposed to manage the town and bring people together, build our infrastructure, help bring in new businesses so our taxes stay down. And I've already signed a no tax pledge because I'm not raising taxes, and do the right thing for people, When I started running, a friend of mine said, look, I don't ever want you to lose your way, so I'm going to give you a compass to make sure you follow that. And that's this compass right here. It's got a little saying in there that talks about, don't get lost. And I'm really paraphrasing a long sentence into just a little one. But it says, don't lose your way. She's lost her way.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about not being held accountable. I know, for example, she's been on both sides of a couple of issues, but what exactly were you referring to when you said she hasn't been held accountable?
Well, she said she'd fix the Badlands problem.
Right.
We went to court. Maybe she should pay for that $34 million that we just lost.
Right.
And that's just one example.
And then some people, first of all, one thing that I was worried about, I saw you got arrested in 2011 on a sexual assault charge, which the charges were dismissed and the accuser was later arrested. I wanted to give you an opportunity to address that.
In public service, people get accused and often because we're in the public eye, and people take advantage of that for different reasons. And it's between 2008 2000. I can't remember the exact time frame. It's right in there.
15
It was a long time ago. But the whole issue was there was no evidence. It was simply she said he did it,
Right.
and so we
and what
followed.
would motivate somebody to do that to you?
Well, and that was the question. We didn't know. We couldn't figure this out.
Was it an ex-girlfriend? Was
It was
somebody
a
you knew?
professional acquaintance, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. Why is this
Out of left
sudden
field.
out of left field, a sudden change on personality, all this kind of stuff. We didn't know what was going on. After charges were dismissed, we found out that the Scorpion Task Force that was in play that time.
Scorpion Task Force?
Yeah, it was a law enforcement group that was working as a drugs and street crimes and things like that.
Like a drug enforcement
Yeah,
task force.
yeah, basically. They had arrested her on 3 felony charges. And we're like, what? What just happened?
And then you didn't have any idea about that?
I didn't know
either.
anything about
This
this.
was just somebody you knew from
This
work
was
or something?
yeah, this is a professional acquaintance, and
And then she's accusing you of sexual assault, and then she's,
getting arrested for
a
drug
big
charges.
Drug racketeering thing.
turns out they arrested her for possession of meth, manufactured meth, and maintaining a place of manufacturing.
She might have had a drug lab in her
And that's what they found was a drug lab. Had scales and distribution equipment, everything else that went with it. She ended up being convicted of it. So the working theory, and my lawyer was a great guy, and of course we had to pay for it, but and he and I are still friends, so it's not even that.
You get what you paid for.
And ultimately, his comment to the news was, we get a lot of clients, but this is one that I truly believe is innocent, and so. The working theory was it was just some way to divert the attention of the Scorpion Task Force off of her for a little while so that they could finish doing what they were doing and try to get moving, which she actually did move to a new location, and that's where they picked her up.
That's crazy.
So
That is some story.
yeah, it was.
That must be stressful being accused of something.
Being
like
accused
that.
of something, knowing you didn't do it, seeing it go on national television all the way to Montana.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. It was an election year, too.
Oh my God! Were you running for something?
No, I wasn't running for anything. I was just doing the job, on the job as a fireman.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
You didn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
Okay.
And we proved it, and everything that they tried to bring up as evidence was just fluff.
All right. On another note, and a more personal note, I hear that something potentially tragic happened just last night regarding your daughter.
Yeah.
She's a cop?
My oldest daughter. Okay, so a little more history there. My grandfather was a policeman in Michigan. My dad, in part of his life, was actually a corrections officer here in Nevada, out in Indian Springs. I was a deputy sheriff, and now my daughter is a legacy cop in the same department that I was in. She was answering a call yesterday. Sorry.
Take your time.
And she was struck by a car that blew through a red light. Her and her partner were hurled over the car, and then the driver was cited for reckless driving or something. I don't know what the charge was, but hearing her voice on the 911 call, it was tough.
Why don't we play the tape?
They said 1050. Myself and my 73 has been struck by a vehicle.
10-4, what's your 1020?
Albemarle Road at the bypass in front of Glade King.
10-4, how many patients will we have?
Myself and 173.
10-4, we'll have help on the way.
Oh my gosh. So that's your daughter while injured, radioing in for help?
Yeah, that's her. And
this is like 12 hours ago?
it's
Or-
about 24 hours ago now.
Holy cow. And this
So-
was released on the news as the 911 tape.
It was absolutely the straight off the tape.
And is she okay?
She's banged up a little bit. She's going to go back in for another evaluation with the doctors. So she definitely has a concussion and some bumps and bruises. Her partner is banged up a little bit, but he's in good shape. The report was that witnesses saw both of them go flying over top of the car and landed behind it. And it was a Toyota FJ. So it was an
that's a
SUV.
big one.
It was a Toyota FJ from according to the report. And so she was at home resting last night. I talked to her just before we came in, and she's doing better. So, but yeah, she's going to be out of work for a little bit.
Okay.
I
mean, I just heard even last night, I saw a video. I heard 11 officers got shot last night across the country.
Yep.
Not even including officers, which I'm sure happens all the time. These officers are risking life and limb, getting hit by cars. And the officers were trying to save a baby, and they got ambushed. I don't know if you saw that.
The guy shot, was it 7 officers, 6
right,
or 7 officers?
That one
yeah.
was like 6 or 7
Yeah.
alone.
It's crazy, guys. These guys are out here to protect us. Come on, help them out. The law is very clear. When you see the patrol cars, move over.
It's one thing to have to deal with these things on the job. You would know a lot better than me. But then to have to deal with like a public negativity or a lack of appreciation for doing the right thing. I mean,
4 generations of my family have served. Straight line, grandfather, father, me, and my daughter. She's the first one to get hurt on the duty, or in line of duty.
And that was yesterday. Oh, well, we'll pray for her.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much.
I mean, that's
She's-
pretty heavy. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, she's a trooper, and she's trying to play it like, I'm okay, don't worry about it, Dad. I'm like, are you kidding me? I know what this does. I go on these calls all the time. I fly people to trauma centers as part of my job. I know
Seeing people
exactly.
fly, right.
Yeah, I know what just happened. You're not fooling me.
Yeah, I saw
You know?
a friend of mine got hit by a van.
Yeah.
Which is the same size, and I saw him fly.
Yeah.
You know, it must have been 30 yards flying through the sky,
Yeah.
getting hit by a car. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, it's
just to
crazy.
survive it.
It's craziness. You know, when the lights are on, slow down. Just slow down.
Well,
You know?
I mean, that actually brings us to our next subject. Since I've been getting to know you a little bit better and preparing for the interview, I noticed that, you're a Christian.
Mhm.
Or was it a Catholic?
No, just a
Christian.
yeah.
And I noticed that, you say a lot about God and, how you try to, do the right thing. We're all sinners,
Yeah,
yada,
yeah.
yada, yada. But you want to talk to us a little bit about your relationship
Sure,
with God or what church you go to,
well,
or how this affects what you're doing.
I grew up in a church here in Las Vegas. It was at 9th and Bridgers, First Baptist Church. And, of course, God's been a part of my life since I was probably, little bitty, because we were going to that church when I was that picture. And before I ran for office this time, I took a couple of days and prayed about it. And I'm looking for the answer. God answers prayers, and I'm looking for the answer. And I'm just like, okay, what am I going to see as an answer? And for the next 3 days after that, it was, music on the radio station was step up, be brave, be bold. Daniel, in the lion's den, David and Goliath. And I'm like,
Those are the messages you get.
3 days of this. And I'm like, okay, I get it, I give.
Are you calling Victoria Seaman Goliath?
Yeah, I am, because an incumbent is a tough race to beat.
Right.
So and I've been blessed because of it, in the way we do things, and we have kind of, and I call it a cohort, but it's a group of Christian warrior candidates, and we're out there, we're here, we're doing the thing, we're stepping up. We got, and this is not an inclusive list, not by any means. You mentioned Sherelle.
Right.
Sherelle Mendenhall for, United States Senate. Sam Peters for Congressional Congress in District
Sherelle,
4.
Past guest. Peters, future guest.
Stan Haidt.
Past guest.
Clark Boursart.
Future guest.
Well, there you go. You got them all. Yeah. And I don't want to go through the whole list, but I just want to hit a few of them. These guys are, they're here. They're answering their phone. I mean, their phones, my phone number's not going to change. It's right here. You call me, I'm going to answer the phone.
What's that number?
That's 702-427-5656. I answer my own phone. I don't have a secretary. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Where's
your team? There's no team behind the cameras.
Yeah, no, they're the team is I got some media pros. I got some great people helping me.
But your team is Sherelle,
my team,
and Stan,
yeah,
and
the candidate teams are all conservative, strong, constitutional people that stand up for what our Constitution says. It's the Nevada Constitution, it's the United States Constitution, it's the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. These are our people.
Victoria Seaman.
Mm-hmm.
Sherelle is fighting against Adam Laxalt.
Mm-hmm.
Stan Haidt is fighting against Joe Lombardo, and you guys are fighting against establishment Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that we need a more grassroots effort? It seems like the grassroots effort is getting a lot louder, but when you talk to the pros who have been in the business for 20 years, they say it all comes down to the money and the name recognition, and as much enthusiasm and support as these grassroots candidates are getting, they really don't have a chance.
That's, you hit it right there on the spot. They're pros. We don't need professional politicians. The politics and representation was never, ever supposed to be professional politicians. The people, our forefathers, were farmers and merchants
and blacksmiths.
Right. And they'd go and they'd do a term and they'd go home. They hated it. I'll do a term. If I do a good job, put me in for a second. After that, I'm going home to play with my grandkids. I don't have anything, desires or any...
Politics was supposed to be a side hustle.
It's a side thing. Hustle. It's not your main. It's something that, as grown-ups, we have the maturity to deal with and make good rules that make sense for everybody, not the people that have the money, not the people that don't have the money, the people, everybody.
And how are we going to overcome that, though? I mean,
we got to get fresh voices in there. We got to get the career politicians out. If you've done 2 terms, go home.
Right.
Go home. Your time is up. You had a chance. Now go home. Let somebody else come in there. Stop relying on elections for a job. Go do something. Create a business. I created my own business.
Right.
You know, I run a mobile notary business, and I'm a licensed wedding officiant. Do something.
Right, that's your side hustle.
Yeah, I got a side hustle. I got time to do it, but not right now because I'm running for office. But come on.
I'm sure if you want to get married, Alan Bigelow got your back.
I got you. I got the card in my wallet. We'll get it done.
Good.
But the thing is, it's not your career. You're not supposed to be a career politician. You're supposed to be a statesman.
Right, and if you look at any of our founding fathers, none of them were career politicians.
None of them.
Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell.
50 years,
What
40
have they ever
years.
done? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden was 48 years and
46,
6 years.
I think, before becoming president.
Before becoming president. Who's paying
We'll
his
finish in
paycheck?
50 years.
Yeah, we are. Your taxpayers. And what's happened? What's changed? Nothing.
Well, it's kind of changed for the worse.
Yeah.
In
I
my
mean,
humble opinion.
You know, we got here's just an observation. Super Bowl's tomorrow. All right. The mask came off 2 days ago so that people could fly in and not have a mask in a casino while they make sports bets.
I got another.
Just a thought. Just a thought.
Well, my working hypothesis is we're not giving enough credit to play tape. I have a couple of different things I wanted to bring up. First of all, I think that my working hypothesis is we're not giving enough credit to these Canadian truckers, because I really think you noticed Maryland, New Jersey, a couple other states, California for the unvaccinated, Nevada now, thank goodness, have all lifted their mask mandates. You mentioned because you thought it was for the Super Bowl. I think that it's directly, like not even like kind of, but I think it's directly because of those Canadian truckers and our politicians, from the polling to the threats of these kind of things going on. I think we deserve to give them the credit.
They definitely started this. This is, you know, props to those guys. Huge props. You know, you saw the picture of my semi. I did it. I know what's, you know, I know what it is, you know, to drive and get out there and bring, you know, and we literally would drive from North Carolina bringing textiles to California. We'd go up to into the bread basket in the Salinas and the Northern California areas and bring fresh produce back across the country. These guys in Canada, I've been to Ottawa. I know that area. I've seen it. If you lock it down, nothing's moving. And you know what? Good job, guys. Seriously.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
And I hear that they're forcefully getting rid of them over in Michigan, I think it is one of the, not the main arteries in Montana. I hear that's backed up for miles. The one in Michigan where their governor was saying, you know, get them out by bulldozers and encouraging the Canadian government to use force to clear up that border. I saw last night that the truckers were leaving one lane open so they could continue to, you know, be civilly disobedient while at the same time not stopping the everyday person from getting some food on the table.
Because you can't stop the interstate transfer of goods. That violates the law.
Right.
So if they're leaving one lane open, it's a peaceful protest. Keep it up.
Well, I'm hearing that this morning that they are actually forcing them out. We don't have the full story just yet. Obviously, this is an evolving story right now. But besides telling them they're doing a good job, you have any other messages for the truckers?
You know, be strong, guys. We got your back. You know, the people know that you're doing the right thing. I saw that they called tow trucks for them, and the tow trucks got in line with them and said, "The heck with you guys. We're going to stand with these guys." You know, we believe you're doing the right thing. We know you're doing it because of the right reasons. The mandates and stuff are done. I've been on the front line of this for 2 years as a fireman. I haven't been vaccinated, and I've had to wear the mask, and I know, you know, the mask is pointless.
And you don't agree with Prime Minister Trudeau that this is a fringe movement of extremists?
Oh, God, no.
anti-government extremists?
No. Canada is a free country, much like the United States, and when your rights get trampled, it's time to step up. We showed the Brits, we didn't like their taxes, we dumped their tea in the harbor. You
All
know.
right. We got 5 minutes.
Okay.
I wanted to run through a couple of things before I let you go. First of all, you're big on protecting seniors as a councilman. What does that mean?
Absolutely. A friend of mine is a personal injury trial paralegal, and I've been asked a couple opinions on some of the injuries that I've seen on the seniors in the facilities that they've been in, and I've seen some bad stuff, but what they're representing is even worse. And so we got to do a few things here. We got to be able to figure out a way to get the resources so that these seniors are not being ignored in facilities and they're not developing open wounds as big as your fist.
Right, and COVID was horrible. People all by
COVID.
themselves and
They're by themselves. Their families should be able to see them. I mean,
I think that'll kill you faster than any disease.
Loneliness in a senior years, you're just gonna. It's unfathomable.
But we're moving.
Yeah, I mean it's unfathomable.
How about
They
the
got
veterans?
the veterans. We got a lot of veterans out there. The veterans are a special breed that they touch my heart specifically because we have a lot of them that are unemployed, underemployed, need help with housing. They're living in the gutters and the ditches. Veterans got to go help veterans, because we're the people that we trust. In Vegas, I got to throw some props out for Vegas. They have a great outreach program. It needs to be funded by something other than grants, but they're doing a great job as best they can. So let's get the veterans, back
And
into
the
schools
effective
and the
groups
effective
to
groups.
some funding.
Let's get them funded right.
What about children in education?
Children education is a hot spot for me, especially because our kids are the last in the nation right now. They're either 48, 49, or 50th on the poll. In 1963, where'd that picture go? That picture right there, when I came to to Las Vegas, we were number 2 in the nation. I know it's a great picture, right?
You're so cute.
But we were number 2 in the nation in education. What happened?
Right.
Carolyn Goodman started a school in 1964 because of that.
Makes CCSD
And
great again.
yeah, I mean, kudos to the mayor. She did it. I mean, she did it on her own.
Right.
But now we got to step up. And the easy thing for us to do now, first, the city cannot take over the education program. The Clark County School District is a school district. But what we can do is open the doors for pod schools, for micro schools, for special learning centers like the Infinity Math Center. We can do things like
Don't get math
homeschooling.
problems, get solutions.
That's right. Homeschooling. Let's bring in the programs for the after-school programs and social programs that encapsulate these kids. Then Vegas becomes a learning destination. It starts to get known like Yale or Harvard or Princeton or
like we once were.
like
in
we
the
once
80s.
were even in the 60s.
And finally, your biggest platform besides those 3 is business. Small
Business
What
and
can
small
you do?
business. Businesses and small businesses. North Las Vegas has this amazing program where it's a one-stop shop for a new business. You go in there, they tell you what you need to do, send you out, you go get it done, you come back, you're done. Okay? A lot of the small businesses are starting out in the farmers markets. I go to the farmers markets on the weekends. You're going to see me there. I buy stuff from them. Now, don't get me wrong, the big box stores are amazing and everything else
Right,
because
and convenient.
they're convenient. They provide a lot of jobs. But those little businesses,
Moms and
pops, that's what made Las Vegas strong. That's what made Las Vegas great. And we got to diversify. We got to get those businesses blooming, growing, and developing in ways that are just exponentially great.
And we had a gentleman on, Josh Lamack. He had some similar ideas about the one-stop shop for licensing and stuff like that. Where can people find out more stuff about where you stand on the platforms, maybe donate to your campaign?
Okay. Its website is really simple. It's Alan, word 2, Vegas.com, and it's spelled ALAN. And then, again, my phone number was 702-427-5656. All the social media stuff is out there, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's Alan, word 2 Vegas. It's really easy to find. It's got that really cute little baby picture on there with a fuzzy beard.
And do you have any big events coming up in the next month?
Right now we're focusing on fundraising because it takes a lot of money to get things done and get the message out. I pop in at some of the events around town. I was just at a couple of them recently. One of them was of course, the City Hall meeting I went to, You'll see me at City Hall at the council meetings for sure. I try to hit at least one a month just because my schedule doesn't always let it happen, but I do. You'll see me at the farmers markets. You'll see me at other functions, the Republican conservative functions. I was just at the governor's debate the other day. That was great. I loved it.
You go to like First Fridays at the
I do.
Ahern
I try to
and
First
stuff
Fridays
like
at the Ahern, the conservative town
So you're out
halls.
there.
Yeah, I try. I'm out there. And if you see me driving around town, you see the back of my truck, my pictures and the phone number's on there. Call me. I'll talk to you.
And if they can't find you, what's your phone number?
702-427-5656, and it's on the back tailgate of my bumper or my truck as well.
All right, and I want to give you 60 seconds for your elevator pitch. Look
My
at
elevator
camera. You
pitch.
can tell the voters why they should vote for you in the primary
All
as
right.
well as the general election.
So I'm a native of Las Vegas. I grew up here. I'm your neighbor. I know how to bring businesses back into town. I know how to get people connected. Ultimately, I'm accountable to you. My name's Alan Bigelow, and I'm running for the Las Vegas City Council in Ward 2. I hope for your vote. Love to have your support. We're always looking for volunteers. Give me a call.
Beautiful, beautiful. And guys, if you like this kind of coverage, what I'm going to need from you is you're going to have to subscribe. I don't care if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, or whatever the case may be on Facebook, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, become part of the conversation. We're going to be doing this all year as we support Red Wave 2022. All right, again, check out last night's episode with Sherelle Mendenhall, and don't forget, we got all kinds of people. I don't want to make any promises, but we got some big names coming on. And I just really want to thank you, Alan.
Oh, thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it.
It's great to get to know you, and you can't hide behind a couple of talking points when we sit here for an hour. We really get a chance to know you. And they also say if you learn, you laugh, and you cry, you've had a full day. That was Jim Valvano about a month before.
Well, we just did that in an hour.
That's what I'm saying. So it's been a full day. We wish you the best of luck, and we're going to be praying for your daughter.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Hopefully she turns out everything is okay. Thank you for bringing props. I mean, this is the best guest we've ever had. Bringing props and pictures. We got it all. So thank you for joining us. Guys, 702-501-5304 if you want to text us. The Johnny Brew Show at gmail.com. And, of course, you could always hit up Infinity at themathinstitute.com where you don't get more math problems. You get solutions. My name is John Brookhagen, joined by Alan Bigelow, City Council Ward 2. Thank you for watching us, and we'll get you next time on The Johnny Brew Show.